I can see in some of your screens that you have animals. They have a way of appearing, and I find them to be that they sometimes feel like when you're meditating, it means that you're not doing anything and you're available to them. So they climb up or do something like that. So I have my dog here on the floor, and it's kind of lovely. She's a great model for relaxation, not so much for attention right now, but relaxation, yes. Her attention is very keen, however, if there's a treat involved. So tonight, I'd like to extend our topic a little further. We've talked about softening in the body and beginning to feel the aliveness of the body, to let that come through our meditations, and to kind of soften the boundaries of the body. Begin to feel the space or the field around our bodies as we meditate, which is a kind of softening. So tonight I'd like to talk about just kind of softening to the feelings of being human. So this applies certainly somewhat to the meditation, but more to life beyond the cushion or the bench or the seat as you're meditating. Though things can definitely arise when you're meditating that this applies to. You might think of it as somewhat like imagining that you are, the movie The Avatar. Imagine you're an avatar who's suddenly been put or projected into a human body, and you're kind of here for the first time and just kind of seeing what it's like. So the things of the body and the things of your life are new to you. They're not something simply to take for granted. So that little exercise just creates this beginner's mind. And so in this kind of contemplation that I'm talking about, where you soften to just the feelings of being human, it's like bringing a different attitude to each facet of life. You probably have to choose some things to focus on here. It's not going to be everything. For example, waking up in the morning. What is it like? What do you feel? Physically, we might say, well, I feel groggy. What does that feel like? What is it like to wake up in a human body and to feel your feet on the floor as you get out of bed, stand up, and to soften to aspects of that might not be, what your mind's concept says is great. Sometimes I get out of bed and something aches, something isn't happy. Hopefully that goes away with a little bit of walking around. But there's this aspect of life that we wake up and the body's in a certain condition. And then two, we wake up, how do you feel about the day? Are you excited? Are you dreading it? Is there a little bit of despair present? Or is it not really? Is it still kind of a blank in your mind because you haven't woken up that much yet? People have different experiences of waking up. What's yours? And can you soften to it? Meaning, often when you notice these things, it's very easy to go to a place in the mind that judges them. Good, bad, desired, not desired, the way it should be, the way it shouldn't be. And sometimes spiritual practice is pitched in such a way that you're supposed to improve every aspect of yourself. So there's like a right yogic way to wake up in the morning and get out of bed. So this approach is not taking that route, but actually just letting your heart see what each stage of the day is like. What is it like? What is it like to walk downstairs or maybe you don't have stairs. What is it like to greet anybody who's in your home, human or animal? What is that like? Just that whole process. And there's the whole digestive aspect of the body. It is a little odd, isn't it, that we have to keep putting food in one end and it comes out the other. It's to just have an open heart towards that and the problems that can result in that, the stomach upset, the constipation, the or the hunger, the various aspects of just that simple thing of feeding the body, eliminating its waste. You can begin to open your heart to that, soften a bit, see what that's like. As you go through your day, there are various frustrations that arise, right? See if you can see them and see your reactivity with a soft inner gaze. In other words, not beginning with the idea that somehow you're a good Buddhist and you shouldn't be reactive to anything. The truth is, you probably are. I am. I've been doing this for 40 years. It hasn't eliminated all my reactivity, goodness. But there's such a thing as kind of having a soft mind and heart toward it. So you can kind of inside see it and go, oh, honey, it's like, that's hard for you, isn't it? Just that kind of softening. It matters so much. When you forget something, you leave something home you need, there's this perhaps harshness that arises inside of you. Can you notice that? Just this aspect of being human and soften toward it. Oh, yeah, there it is. Someone says something and you then rehearse in your mind afterwards what you wish you had said, as if you could do it over again. Again, notice that and just with a soft heart say, oh, honey, oh, dear, you're carrying that. And that very thing inside of you that's trying to make it better, trying to improve on it, that can be met with a soft heart too. The thing that goes over and over and over things sometimes. It's so easy to get annoyed with it. It's so easy to harden against these aspects of ourselves. The aches and pains, it's so easy to curse them. It's so easy to feel afflicted by them. That's another kind of hardening, self-pitying. And you can soften towards the part of you that wants to pity yourself, certainly. But it can also just soften towards whatever that is in the body that's troublesome. Life just keeps happening. And in case you haven't noticed, it doesn't go according to our will. Sometimes, but certainly not always. Sometimes we can connive to get things to go our way, but certainly not always. And there's just a certain kind of being human, aspect of being human that is difficult in the simplest ways. We're not talking necessarily about facing your most challenging problems. though that's coming. You have to soften to that too. You know, the child that breaks your heart, the spouse who breaks your heart, the parent who breaks your heart. And the sufferings of human beings that come to your attention through all the whatever news media you allow them in with. Those are all somewhat more complicated. So start simple. I recommend the kind of morning meditation I just described. Part of it is that I meditate in the morning, so I find it's kind of conducive. But just lately, I've wanted to wake up with more awareness. I've wanted to have presence begin early. And so that's why I'm kind of inclined in that direction. And sometimes it's helpful to bookend the day. So to bring a little more awareness to just the evening, I get so tired, I have to say. Sometimes I'm surprised how tired I am in the evening. And so again, it's easy for the mind to curse it, to harden to it, push through it. So sometimes it's helpful to just soften to it, to let it be. You may have to do things anyway. You may have to push through it, but it doesn't have to be a harsh thing. Or just that whatever it is right at the end of the day, to just feel the humanness of the end of the day and taking stock of what's happened to you during the day. Do a little review as you're there, settling in, just a little review, just a sense of, okay, this was the day, and check in and see what you're still carrying from it. Can you soften to that? I mean, I would say soften and release, but I don't want to make this too, too much get rid of what you don't want-ish. That's so oftentimes what people want to do in a spiritual practice is if they're still carrying something on at the end of the day, they want to know what the spiritual trick is to let it go. And I'm actually giving you the spiritual trick to let it go. But if you set that idea in your head, I'm supposed to let it go, it just sticks. It doesn't quite work. So rather just kind of acknowledge it and soften to it. That disappointment from the day or that victory. Let it be felt for just a moment before you go to sleep. So that's kind of where I'm inclined these days, is to add a little more energy of attention to the beginning and the end of the day. And to welcome those. Welcome whatever. But you might choose otherwise. You might choose other things. There's the rushing in the morning. I'm not doing a lot of that these days, but many of you are. Many of you are still there. I've been there, where there's a time when you're just supposed to show up somewhere and you need to get out the door, and things have to fall in place or don't. And so there's a certain kind of energy when you just open to it. It suddenly becomes a contemplation. That's really what I'm talking about here, is a contemplative attitude, where this experience of being human is worth knowing for its own sake. Not because you're going to make it all go okay, not because you're going to make it all better, or you're going to do it in the best possible way. Though I think that will come with beginning to contemplate, if that's a helpful word for you, to let in just what it's like to be in this body, in this human life, in the 21st century, with what it asks of us, and how we've set it up so we have to move through it. It's a lot. It calls on a lot of our attention, a lot of our energy. And just so it's like accompanying yourself through the day. And I'm probably describing this a little different than mindfulness. As I was trained in mindfulness, it was a little too minute. It was sort of like, okay, feel your feet on the floor, feel the air on your cheek. As your hand is moving, feel the hand. I think I want a little bigger picture than that, at least at this point in my practice, and that's what I'm suggesting for you. So the feelings of being human is a little wider scope, not quite so drilled down on the bodily sensation as mindfulness is often taught. But it is mindfulness. It is like letting your heart feel the different aspects of you moving through your day, different aspects of what I'm calling being human. I found that to be, should I say, a mode of practice that is helpful when you're not doing really intensive practice. Some of you who do, intensive retreats may benefit from that really microscopic kind of mindfulness of following your feeling of your feet everywhere, and following your breath everywhere. But I think for most people going through a normal day, a little broader scope might be helpful. To ground yourself in your body, certainly with a meditation sometime during the day, but then just kind of notice and inquire, what is this like? What is this aspect of my life like? What does it feel like when I get home from work? What does it feel like when I'm going to work? I'm honest with myself. What's really going on? What do I feel? What's in my body? What's in my heart? And just start to notice that. All right.